Have you noticed something strange about the way the Testaments is unfolding? After episode 9, fans suddenly stopped talking about who might win and started talking about who might completely break. Because if the theories surrounding episode 10 are even remotely true, this finale might not give viewers the satisfying resolution they're hoping for. Instead, it could quietly become one of the darkest turning points in the entire story. Becca's shocking arrest, Agnes's terrifying future with Weston, Daisy's uncertain path after becoming green, and Aunt Lydia inching closer to rebellion. Fans now believe episode 10 isn't just ending a season, it's beginning a war. And here's the twist nobody saw coming. Viewers think the show may no longer be strictly adapting the Testaments at all. Instead, they believe the writers are reshaping major storylines in ways that could completely change what comes next. Before we get into the biggest theories exploding online, let's quickly recap where episode 9 left us, because honestly, the fallout was brutal. By the end of the episode, Becca's arrest completely shattered whatever fragile stability these girls still had. Dr. Grove's death only added more tension and unpredictability inside Gilead. Agnes found herself moving dangerously closer toward a future she never truly chose. Daisy continued adjusting to the terrifying reality of becoming green, and Aunt Lydia looked more emotionally conflicted than ever before. Instead of resolving storylines, episode 9 blew everything wide open, and that's exactly why fans believe episode 10 won't feel like a finale in the traditional sense. They think it will feel like the moment every major character crosses a line they can never come back from. Let's start with the theory dominating nearly every discussion thread right now. Agnes's arranged marriage with Weston is probably doomed. On paper, the marriage makes perfect sense for Gilead. Weston represents safety, all the things the system claims to reward, and for a long time, it looked like Agnes would simply accept the life planned for her. But after episode 9, fans think something fundamental has changed inside her. And strangely enough, that change has nothing to do with politics. It has everything to do with Becca. What makes Agnes such an emotionally complicated character is that she isn't like June. June remembers freedom. June remembers the world before Gilead. Agnes doesn't. She was raised inside this nightmare. Gilead isn't something that happened to her, it's the only reality she has ever known. That means rebellion for Agnes was never going to happen overnight. She wasn't going to suddenly wake up and decide to overthrow the system. No, fans think her rebellion began somewhere much quieter. Doubt. And Becca may have planted the first real seed. Because here's the terrifying question Agnes may finally be forced to confront. If someone like Becca, someone trying to survive, trying to obey, can still end up destroyed by the system, then what exactly does obedience even protect? That's where Weston becomes incredibly important. Many viewers believe episode 10 could reveal just how deeply Weston represents the cruelty Agnes has spent her entire life normalizing. If he shows indifference toward Becca's punishment, or worse, benefits from it, fans think that could become the emotional breaking point for Agnes. Not physical rebellion, but emotional separation. And honestly, that may be even more powerful. Because before someone fights a system, they usually stop believing in it first. Fans don't necessarily think episode 10 ends with Agnes running away. Instead, many believe the finale quietly shows the moment she mentally breaks from Gilead for the very first time. And if that happens, everything changes. But no storyline has fans spiraling harder than Becca's disappearance. Because let's be honest, episode 9 left viewers with one massive unanswered question. What exactly happened to Becca? The theories here are absolutely exploding, and nobody seems to agree on what kind of punishment Gilead is preparing for her. The darkest prediction: forced marriage. Fans know how Gilead operates. Punishment isn't always prison or execution. Sometimes it looks far crueler. Some viewers believe Becca may be reassigned into a marriage with an older commander as a form of punishment and control. A terrifying future disguised as correction. And considering how Gilead treats vulnerable girls, that theory feels painfully believable. But there's another prediction gaining major momentum online, and it may completely change the direction of the show. What if she's being redirected? Specifically to Ardua Hall. Book readers immediately picked up on something suspicious during Becca's arrest. The people escorting her didn't entirely resemble eyes, and their behavior felt strangely different. Check out my previous video, on which I made a whole video about that. That tiny detail has sparked one of the most fascinating theories surrounding episode 10. Some viewers believe Aunt Lydia secretly intervened. The idea is this: Instead of allowing powerful men inside Gilead to completely ruin Becca's life, Aunt Lydia may have quietly redirected her toward becoming an aunt. And strangely enough, in Gilead, that could actually be considered mercy. Because while becoming an aunt is hardly freedom, it may be one of the only paths that spares Becca from an even crueler fate. If that theory turns out to be true, then episode 10 suddenly becomes much bigger than Becca's survival. It becomes the moment Aunt Lydia starts quietly fighting back. And honestly, that brings us to what may be the single most important theory surrounding the finale. Fans think Aunt Lydia is finally becoming the Lydia readers know from the Testaments. Now, let's be clear. Viewers are not expecting some dramatic hero moment where Lydia suddenly turns good and starts openly rebelling against Gilead. That would feel fake, too rushed. Instead, fans believe episode 10 may show Lydia becoming something much more dangerous, strategic. Because all season long, the cracks have been showing. She has watched powerful men abuse vulnerable girls while hiding behind scripture. She has seen manipulation disguised as morality. She has witnessed cruelty packaged as discipline. And with Becca potentially facing devastating consequences, many viewers think Lydia may finally be reaching her limit. But here's what makes this theory so interesting. Fans don't think Lydia fights back loudly. They think she starts fighting back quietly, protecting girls from inside the system, moving information carefully, manipulating outcomes, playing politics, building leverage. In other words, episode 10 may not give us good Aunt Lydia. It may give us dangerous Aunt Lydia, the kind of woman who smiles in public while secretly tearing apart the machinery of Gilead from within. And honestly, that version feels way more believable, because survival in Gilead doesn't belong to emotional people. It belongs to patient people. Now, let's talk about Daisy, because fans genuinely cannot agree on where her story is heading. Ever since becoming green, Daisy has become one of the biggest wildcards in the show. Unlike Agnes, she doesn't feel fully conditioned yet. But unlike outsiders, she's also trapped deeply enough to understand the danger surrounding her. And episode 10 may force her into adulthood faster than expected. One popular theory suggests Daisy is being quietly positioned for marriage politics, specifically because Becca may no longer be part of the equation. This has sparked speculation that Daisy could unexpectedly end up matched with Garth. Now, before everyone starts panicking, let's be honest, this theory is still highly speculative, but fans think it exists for a reason. If Becca has truly been removed from her original future, the matchmaking dynamics inside Gilead suddenly change. And because Daisy is now green, viewers believe she may become vulnerable to arrangements she never expected. That possibility alone makes her storyline terrifying. But not everyone agrees. Another group of fans believes Daisy's future is heading somewhere much more dangerous: resistance. And honestly, this theory feels increasingly believable, because Daisy has something incredibly valuable in Gilead: awareness. She's smart enough to adapt, but uncomfortable enough to question. That combination creates dangerous people. If Becca suffers publicly, or if Agnes visibly begins emotionally unraveling, Daisy may start questioning Gilead much sooner than anyone expects. And if Aunt Lydia begins quietly operating behind the scenes, Daisy could eventually become exactly the kind of person resistance groups would target for recruitment. Which leads us to one of the biggest predictions surrounding episode 10. The finale may secretly begin laying the groundwork for Maybay infiltration inside Gilead. Now, fans are not expecting dramatic action scenes or explosive rebellion overnight. That's not how stories like the Testaments work. Instead, viewers think episode 10 will focus on positioning. This theory is definitely more speculative, but fans keep bringing it up for one major reason. And perhaps nowhere is that more heartbreaking than Agnes and Becca's friendship, because many viewers think Becca's suffering may become the emotional catalyst that changes everything. And honestly, that theory feels devastatingly realistic. Unlike June, Agnes isn't driven by memory, she's driven by heartbreak. People raised inside oppressive systems rarely wake up one morning and suddenly rebel. Usually, something personal shatters the illusion first. Someone suffers, someone disappears, someone gets punished unfairly, and suddenly the rules stop feeling sacred. Fans think episode 10 may quietly answer one of the biggest questions in the Testaments. What finally makes a girl born inside Gilead stop believing? And the answer may simply be this:
watching someone she loves get destroyed by the very system she trusted. That emotional betrayal could become the foundation for Agnes's entire future. Which brings us to the biggest prediction of all. Fans do not think episode 10 ends happily, at all. In fact, some people are beginning to lower their expectations for triumph or rescue, because if the Testament is truly beginning, hope usually arrives very late. Pain comes first. Because what if episode 10 was never meant to feel like an ending? What if the finale exists to transform every major character into the people they eventually become? She may become the tragedy that changes everything. Because the biggest takeaway from fan theories right now is surprisingly simple. Nobody expects resolution anymore. They expect transformation. And honestly, that may be why excitement around episode 10 feels so intense. Fans aren't waiting for answers. They're waiting for emotional devastation. They're waiting for the moment these characters stop surviving Gilead and start becoming the people capable of fighting it. So maybe the real twist of episode 10 isn't who escapes. Maybe the biggest twist is realizing this finale was never designed to end anything at all. It was designed to quietly begin the next war.